Hotel workers of Reddit, what's the strangest / most disgusting thing you've ever seen happen? Worked at a large hotel. Every year a group of old men rented the top 2 floors of the hotel for a few days. These were all retired judges, lawyers, business owners, etc. They would wear thousands of dollars of jewelry, bring in tons of liquor and other stuff. They would hire a bunch of prostitutes, put them in rooms and post a paper on the door with the description of the prostitute in each room. Basically would have a huge party in every aspect. Would have to tell them to stay on their floors, but would have old naked guys be spotted in the elevator or on other floors freaking out other guests. They were big tippers and made for an interesting weekend each year. Edit for typo. Edit 2. Now that you all guessed it, it was the Royal Order of Jesters. I remember their purple, and like I said, all the crazy jewelry they had. Pretty crazy. I can't imagine the amount billed to allow it, and turn a blind eye. Obligatory, not a hotel worker, but just a keen traveler wanting to break up the feces stories. Stayed in a resort, where it was a series of clay huts that comprised the hotel. This was in Namibia. You booked a hut, chill and go about your life. When I arrived I found the door to my hut with scratches on the outside and several bolts. A sign saying, "Do not open at night." Strange. I didn't sleep that night as I could hear a child wailing outside in pain and scrabbling at the door. Once I heard the door trying to be wrenched open. Next morning I spoke to the other guests who had had a similar experience. Turns out that it was monkeys that mimicked human sounds to make people open the door and attack them. Stranger than fiction. Edit. Grammar. 3 young girls shared a room, were wasted. Next morning they were very quick to check out, not even went for breakfast. Turns out they took dumps all over the room. We blacklisted them and sent their ads to other hotels telling of what happened so they could be aware if they showed up. At least we could take the money for the stay of the credit card they gave. I don't work for a hotel, but for a hotel reservations website. Once got a call from a client who was staying in Thailand, asking to be relocated. When we asked why would he need that, he told us the police was there because the property owner, it was a villa, not a hotel, had murdered her husband and buried him under the villa. When he called us, they were there with their excavator and a coroner's crew. On top of that, the villa owner ran away with the client's passports, so they also required consular assistance. Worked in a shitty pub that offered shitty accommodation. A guest rightfully lost their shit after they climbed into bed and found a soiled pair of men's underwear. They fired the housekeeper after that. I used to work as a quality supervisor for a 5* hotel. Basically my job was to make sure that both the staff and the guests have no ongoing issues. One morning, I was around the reception area. Guests were leaving in masses. I asked a few of them about their stay, took positive and negative feedback. Suddenly, one of the receptionist girls waved me over. A guest couple was checking out. I think they were Irish, age around 24 to 26, completely normal couple. The receptionist girl pulled me over and said that one of the cleaning crew notified them to send me up to the couple's room immediately. A bit puzzled, I go up to their room. It was trashed. Like completely trashed. Like if there were some blood splatters around, it could have seriously looked like a scene for a brutal murder case. Among 100 other things, broken chair, broken TV, pillows and sheets all over the place, curtains torn down. The bathtub was clogged with the bathrobes and the floor was completely drenched. The table seems like some sort of macup and other unknown things were used to paint all over it. A pack of wet Asian noodles were slammed on the ceiling. A tampon inside a lamp. And so on. Completely in shock, I went down to immediately talk to the couple. I questioned them, but they acted like they don't know what I'm talking about. Called in the higher ups. In the end, they were forced to pay a considerable amount of money for the damage they caused. The strangest thing was they were genuinely acting like they don't know what happened at all, not just trying to lie or make up a ridiculous story. After they paid, still acting like they did nothing wrong, and left. I went on to investigate the issue a bit more. I ran into some of the other guests from the floor they stayed in and asked them if they saw or heard anything strange. As it turned out, the couple acted like they were on drugs the night before the accident. Like heavy drugs. They stood in the hallway for 30 minutes, just staring at the wall, for example. They left claw marks on the inside of the door, which I didn't even notice at first. The staff did not get caught because other people thought they were just moderately drunk tourists. To this day, I do not know what drug they took, but that room left a permanent mental image in my head. A guy shot himself in the hotel room and the maids found him. It was a chain hotel which sent their laundry to the hotel I worked for, and days later we received the bed sheets from said room. Obviously covered in blood, and my boss just said, "It is just blood, we won't throw away sheets just because of a bit blood." Little did she know that I threw them away behind her back. When I was just out of high school, I worked as a housekeeper at a decently upscale hotel. The main policy regarding cleaning rooms was, unless it was illegal activity, just clean around it. Okay, fair. I had seen marijuana paraphernalia in hotel rooms and chosen to just ignore it. Guns laying around in their lock cases during a gun convention, fair enough. But I wasn't prepared for what I saw on a night room turned down. Basically, you lightly freshen up the room, make the bed prepared to be used for the night, and drop a chocolate on the pillow. When I moved the sheet down to make the tuck for turn down, there was fucking child porn pictures. I immediately spoke to the night manager, who contacted the police. I was allowed to anonymously make a report because the man was already on probation. He wasn't allowed to even be staying at the hotel. He was from the area and utilized hotels to meet other pedophiles. Because it was probation, they could be more flexible with warrants and such. Still bothers me now. We were a small pet friend's hotel in a medium-sized NC town. There was a guest in town for a few months that was covering for someone at one of the local plants. This guy was traveling with his dog and generally seemed like a pretty alright guy, even if he was a recluse. This guy said we didn't need to go into his room for housekeeping, since his dog wasn't the friendliest and he liked to do the cleaning himself. This isn't really an abnormal request, and we never had trouble with people doing that in the past, so we were happy enough to save our girls a room on the housekeeping boards. After 2 months, the guy checks out and we go into the room for the first time in that span. What we found was a smorgasbord of disgusting. Opening the door, we were assailed by the overpowering stench of dog urine. Okay, that happens sometimes. Taking the first step into the room, our shoes are greeted with a squish and literal dog urine coming up over the top of our shoes. This was obviously worse than we thought it would be. Exploring the room further, we found that the mattress and chair were completely soaked through with dog urine and growing literal mushrooms and mold. The wood on the tables and dressers was split and peeling beyond any kind of salvage. The bathroom had poop stains on the floor and in the tub, but the tub also had a temporary bed of blankets and pillows set up in it. This dude was literally coming back to his room every day and sleeping in that mess. The only thing he bothered to clean up was the dog's shit, mostly. This was for 2 months. We had to completely strip the room and rehab it because it was so bad. This also prompted us to create a policy where we had to enter every room at least once a week, no exceptions. It amazes me that guy slept in there and supposedly went to work each day. I don't know how he managed to hold down a job if he lived like that. I used to work in a restaurant attached to a hotel and would be responsible for room service calls. There was the one older guy who was staying alone, visiting his wife in a hospital as she was dealing with a sudden and terminal cancer diagnosis. At first it was fine. He would just order dinner and a bottle of wine every night. Then it became 2 bottles of wine. Then 3, spaced throughout the day. His wife passed, and then it became 4. The hotel staff was starting to get worried, but he wasn't really breaking any rules. He would just stay in his room all day eating and drinking. Until one time I went to deliver his daily dinner. He didn't even call in orders anymore. He got the same thing every day, and he didn't answer the door. I thought I heard a cry from inside, like a pained groan or something, so I put the food down and went to tell the front desk. They said they'd handle it. I later found out he tried to get out of bed and just collapsed after drinking himself into a stupor. He had been there for hours and was laying in his own filth. They kicked him out after that and ended his 3-month stay. I felt really bad for the man. He was going through heartbreak and was struggling to cope.